Are you a mom who needs a break? You've come to the right place. Join me and other moms weekly to hear biblical wisdom and our own journey as mothers. This is Moms on Break. Welcome back to Moms on Break, part 2 of our nature series with Marlene. If you weren't with us last time, I encourage you to go back and listen to that one because it really gives a good foundation for this nature series. But Marlene, I'll let you just dive right in. We've got a lot to cover today, and I'm excited. So go right ahead.
Great. Yeah, definitely. If you didn't listen to part 1, I encourage you to go back. We're talking about the benefits of getting out in nature for our kids and for ourselves as moms and parents. Today we're going to go a little farther with that. But, nature truly humbles us, and it puts an awe in our hearts for how big God is.
Amen.
He's big enough to care for our problems. He's big enough to provide for our needs, and he's definitely big enough to carry our children. And, when you get out in nature, it's really hard not to see what an awesome God and creator he is. And we go outside at night and look up at the stars, and we see the immensity of the stars and planets and stuff that are in the sky, and we realize he knows every one of those stars by name, and he knows everything about us, and
how can he not care for us?
Absolutely.
Yes.
The little
Amen.
things in our lives. So I'd like to start by sharing us a testimony about a gentleman named Mike. And about 3.5 years ago, his wife had a tragic stroke, and she was a complete care. And for 2 years, he struggled to care for her at home, and it was extremely stressful. His family tried to come in and help him, but it was just 24/7 for him, caring for his wife. And then about a year and a half or so ago, she passed away. And as sad as it was a weight off of him. But for about a year, he just kind of languished at home. He was depressed. Here he had cared for his wife, and then now she's gone.
What does he do now with his life?
Yeah, he was sick, and he was gaining weight. And one day he woke up and he said, my wife promised me right before she had her stroke that she was going to go on a hike with me. I think today's the day that I need to go on that hike that she promised she would go on with him. And he went on that hike, and he has never looked back. He was telling us that from that point on, he started walking every day. And first it was like a mile, and he had such horrible back pain and just felt very unmotivated and didn't want to get out there. But he said, I've got to do something for myself. I can't keep living like this. And so he started out with just a very small amount of walking, and every day he was increasing it till finally he was walking like 10 or 15 miles a day. Not too long ago, we saw him. We were actually out walking, and we saw him, and he was in his van, just bright and cheering. We said, where are you headed to? He said, I'm going to walk. I'm going on a 10-mile hike, and then I'm going rappelling with some friends. I mean, this is not a 25-year-old. This guy's in his late 60s, early 70s.
Wow.
And he told me at that time when we saw him on that particular day, he said, getting out in nature truly brought healing in his life, and it opened up a whole new world to him. And he said he's got a new lease on life. He's lost weight. He's happy. He's motivated. He's energetic about just living life. And he said it's just been a complete 180-degree turn for him. So that's just one testimony about how getting out in God's creation can totally transform somebody's life from complete depression and difficulty and grief, and change them into a happy and healthy person.
That's an incredible
really
testimony.
Cool. It is. And I don't know, some of you may, if you're homeschoolers, you probably know the name Charlotte Mason, but she's a lady from the 1800s, and she has a quote that is I think pretty well known by many people, but I love this. And she says, never be within doors when you can rightly be without.
That says a lot right there.
Yeah, it does. And so anyway, I I talk to a lot of moms, just, when I'm out doing things with my kids and, get into conversation and find out what they're interested in. And invariably getting outside, and I tell them we just recently moved out into the country because we love nature and we wanted to give our kids even more opportunity to be out in nature. And
Hmm.
I just shared with them some of my passion for nature exploration with kids and education. And a lot of them have, I would say the vast majority have a host of excuses why they don't get out. And I'm thinking, oh my, there's so many wonderful benefits to getting outside. So I've kind of boiled it down to three main excuses that people
Hmm.
come up with. The first one is I don't have time.
Mm.
So, maybe they don't homeschool. Their kids are in a regular school and they don't get home till 3:30 or 4 in the afternoon. And they have homework to do and music practice and chores and things like that. And so, I don't have time. But, I think we have to reevaluate what are our priorities and what is it that is best for our kids. And in
Certainly.
session one, we talked about those benefits
Hmm.
and why would we not want to give that gift,
Yeah.
the
It's like
gift
we
of
we don't
nature,
have
the gift
time
of, yeah,
not to.
yeah, we talked about vitamin N. Why would we not want to give
Hmm.
kids all the vitamins that they need? So,
Hmm.
so I think, for the excuse of I don't have time, it's maybe a red flag that we need to evaluate where our priorities are for our kids.
Good
Doesn't have to be
point.
something we do every day, but
But it
um,
can be one of those big rocks you put into your
yes,
schedule first. And
absolutely.
I think as you do that, you'll find that I know one of the ones that hit me, Marlene, from last
Hmm.
session that you said was improved concentration. Um, if you get outside and then you go do your school with your kids, they're going to get more done. And it's going to be better full attention than if you had just stayed inside the whole time. So you actually, I think, can get more done
Absolutely,
by
for
getting out
sure.
there. Hmm.
Yeah, um, that's absolutely right. So
And that's just,
in the second, yeah,
mhm. That's just one
the
excuse,
second,
huh? Yeah, people have many.
yeah, the second biggest excuse I hear is people say, well, I don't have access. I live in the city. Maybe I
Hmm.
live in an apartment. I don't have a backyard or I don't have a park nearby. But, I think some simple, really simple jumpstart approaches is start small. Don't try to start like with this huge nature curriculum or things like that, but
Overwhelming.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, start small. If you don't know what you're doing, tap into resources. And in the next session or the next part of this series, we're going to be talking specifically about resources. So be sure to listen to that.
Yes. Hmm.
But something as simple as getting a pot and putting dirt in it and buying a plant at Lowe's or Home Depot and putting maybe some herbs in there and then letting your kids
I love that.
enjoy watching them grow. And um,
Bring nature into
we
your
love,
house.
yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
We love to sketch and draw. And one of my things I say to my kids is draw exactly what you see.
Hmm.
Try to get used to drawing exactly what you see. I mean, drawing from imagination, that's a whole nother topic to talk about.
Hmm.
But when it comes to nature, we're wanting to learn. And so by paying attention to those little details, look at the little fuzzy hairs on the edge of that leaf. Oh, or that one
Mm.
has a little jagged edge to it. Or look at the
Oh.
veins, or this is shiny and this is dull. And just being observant of the little things. Another thing
Hmm.
is if people do live in a house and they have a backyard, they say, well, maybe I don't have a nice park nearby. Well, there's a really cool concept about taking like a piece of string and laying it on the ground for 3 feet. And you, as a parent, do this with your kids. Get
Hmm.
used to getting dirty. It's okay.
Yes.
But if you
Yes.
lay down on your belly and start at one end of the string, lay down, we call this a micro hike. So lay on your belly and you get up close and personal. Watch the ants as they crawl by. Look
Wow.
at
I love
the
that.
blades of grass, or the little crystals and the soil that's in the ground. Look at all the colors. What colors do you see? Another thing that people will do is a sensory hike. So they'll um, blindfold when they're kids, and then they go outside and they take them to a tree and they feel the tree, the bark. What do you feel?
Oh, fun.
Or, feeling the grass and things like that. But, tapping into senses other than our eyes.
It doesn't have to be a long, drawn out hike.
You don't need to walk for 5 miles. I mean, you can literally just take a hike around your backyard.
That's
and
great.
What do you see? What do you feel? What do you experience? What do you hear? Even covering your eyes and just being quiet for a minute. What are you hearing? Do you hear birds? Do you, things like that?
Well, and
So
that's
there's so
teaching
many
them
things
to
you can do.
notice all of the things in
Absolutely.
nature that most of us probably overlook. So I think that's beautiful.
And the third excuse, the biggest excuse, is not people saying, I just have no idea where to start. I have no background in nature or biology. I'm not a naturalist. Where do I start? And that's what we're going to address in part 3, session 3. But, again, just like we talked about a potted plant, even putting a bird feeder up, like just outside of a window, maybe where you eat your meals together as a family, which I hope you're doing, because that's a really good thing to do together as a family. But put a bird feeder up and then get a really simple bird book and start seeing how many birds you can identify at your bird feeder. Keep it stocked. If you can't get out to them, bring them to you.
Yes.
And so that's an awesome thing that you can do. Another thing my kids love, and I like everything to be clean and just right, but I also know it's so important for kids to get dirty.
Yes.
And if you can have a place in the yard where you can put a bucket and a flat board and give your kids those old pots and pans that you were going to throw away and some old plastic spoons and let them have some mud.
Yes.
And have a mud kitchen and make you baked mud muffins or whatever it is. Kids absolutely love it. I have a 13-year-old and he loves doing stuff like that.
Oh, it's great.
Kids are allowed to get dirty and there's always the shower. Just take your clothes off in the bedroom and go get in the shower.
Yeah, get some dirty play clothes that you don't care if they mess up.
Yeah. Go to Goodwill and grab a pair of junky jeans for $1 if you don't want their normal clothes to get messed up. And it's so good for your kids to see you get dirty and messy too, because they realize that, mom is not this pristine, person. So I think those are just some really practical things that we can do, simple things that we can do for our kids to let them get in touch with nature.
And Marlene, one more came to my mind, and maybe some other moms can relate to this. What if I just don't want to? And we had talked about this before. Let's just pray about it. Pray that the Lord gives you a desire to get into nature, and He can give you that desire. I know I was struggling with wanting to do any gardening. I was just like, Lord, I know it'd be really beneficial to my family if I would do some of this, but I really don't want to. I need the desire. And He answered that prayer. So I believe He can answer the prayer too of giving you that desire to get out in nature and want to go explore and get dirty with your kids.
Absolutely. And I think God honors our efforts when we step forward in faith, when we know something is good for our children, and He put nature there for us as a huge blessing.
Amen.
And, if somebody hands you a gift, you don't want to push that gift back.
No.
You want to accept it wholeheartedly. And maybe if you don't know what to do with it, just take it to the Lord and say, Lord, I don't know. And like I said, next session, we're going to talk about tons of resources. But if you don't know, take it to the Lord. He will open the doors. He'll put people in your life. And maybe you're listening to this for a reason, because maybe you know that it's something that's good for you and your kids, but you just don't know where to start.
That's right.
So anyway.
We're running out of time, Marlene, but I want to encourage them to join us for the next session, because in that session at the end, you're going to share a free resource guide, and I want to hear about that. So please stay tuned, ladies, and join us next time. You can find Moms on Break on Facebook, Instagram, and your favorite podcast service. Subscribe, like, and comment to be a part of all our Mom Talk. Moms on Break is a production of Pathway to Paradise Ministries.